Good morning, guys. Welcome back to this online session on Azure Administrator course. So today we are going to discuss about Azure AD Conditional Access. So basically, this topic is not included in our syllabus, but again, this is a topic of AZ security, Azure security, which is from AZ500. So this is the course code AZ500, but again, it is related to Active Directory. That's why we are going to discuss about this topic. So what is Azure AD conditional access? So conditional access means you will set some policies on the behalf of your policy. There would be some conditions which, so you will specify some conditions in your policy. So as per your conditions, user would be able to access your application, or they would be deny. So there would be some two conditions like allow or deny. So in allow, you will set some conditions like if the user will match with these conditions, so the user would be able to access applications. Okay, so let me give you a use case like user A, B, and C. What you want, they are accessing some cloud applications like OneDrive. So if they are accessing OneDrive, so there is a condition they are allowed to access OneDrive, but MFA is required. So that means they need to enable, they need to set up first of all MFA, then they would be able to access OneDrive. Otherwise, they cannot access MFA. Okay, so I'm going to show you this practically. So let me go to my portal. So that is my portal. So you need to go to your Azure Active Directory. So you can search from here Azure Active Directory, or you can go to menu tab and you will get here Azure Active Directory option. So you need to click on Azure Active Directory. Sorry. So from Azure Active Directory, you need to scroll down from left hand side and you will get here a tab which is security. So you need to you need to click on security tab. So here you can see there are multiple options for security. These options, about these options, you will get knowledge in AZ500 Azure security certifications. So again, this topic is also included in Azure security. So, but as most of the users are requesting for this conditional access, that's why I'm going to show you this topic. So click on conditional access. So if you see here, there are multiple buttons. Okay, and there is a pane which you can see here. New policy. What if? So we'll discuss one by one what all they are. Okay. So before going to add a new policy, let me show you some pre-configured baseline policies which are there and state is off. Okay, so I'm going to show you one policy, one or two policy, which you can see here. So let me open this first policy, which is baseline policy require MFA for admins. Okay, so just click on this policy. So you would be able to understand this policy here. So you can see the description of this policy. So the policy requires multi-factor authentication for the following directory roles. That means the user who have some admin privilege. Okay, so there should be a MFA enable on their account. Okay, so the user who is global admin, who is SharePoint admin, who is Exchange admin, conditional access administrator, security administrator, help desk administrator, billing administrator, and user administrator. So the user who have these kind of roles, that means who have some kind of privilege, so they should enable MFA. There should be a MFA on their accounts, and we cannot include or exclude any user from this policy. If this policy is enabled, we cannot exclude or include any user in this policy. So that is the baseline policy for MFA. If we see here end user protection policy, so just click on this policy. So if you see, this policy protects user by requiring MFA during a risky sign-in attempts to all applications. So user with leaked credentials are blocked for sign in until a password reset. What it means, if you will enable this policy and you are using premium to license, so what Azure AD will do, it will check risky sign-ins. So if Azure AD will find that this sign-in is risky, there is a sign-in risk on your user account or on your uh, admin account. Okay, so it will require a MFA for those kind of users. So for that policy, it will ask users to register themselves within 14 days, register their MFA within 14 days if you will enable this policy. So similar, like there are some policies. Okay, now we have a tab named location. So right now there is no named location. Okay, so what we can do, we can add a new location here. So if you click on this button, new location, so you can see you can give a name. So I'm going to give here a name like India, an IP range, or you can select country. Okay, that is totally up to you. So there would be multiple sites which you are using, okay, in different countries. So what you can do, you can specify name and then their IP address range or their country name. So let me choose like IP address range would be 92.168.10.10/24. This would be IP range marked as a trusted location. That means if any user is coming from this location, so they all would be trusted user. That you can specify from here. Click on create. Now why we are creating this name location? So when we will create some custom policy, at that time we will include or exclude our name location as per our policies. Okay, so for that purpose you need to add here name location. Then there is some custom controls. Now what is custom controls? Custom control means if you are using some third party identity providers which are integrated with your Azure AD, so for those identity providers, what you will do, you will create some sort of rules. Okay, access rules, so which you can write here into JSON. Okay, and then this would be applied to those kind of external identity providers. Terms of use, whatever policies you are going to configure here, so this policy will be, this term will be shown to your users. If they will agree with the terms, then they would be able to access the services. We have VPN connectivity. So if you are going to use VPN connectivity, so it will create a new certificate for your VPN. Okay. Then we have classic policies. So the users who have created some policies on legacy Azure management portal, so those kind of policy will be shown here. So right now we are not using that portal, so that's why we are not able to see any policy, legacy policies here. Now just go to policies tab here. If you want to create a policy for yourself, custom policy, click on new policy. So if you need to specify a name, so I'm going to specify like exchange users. This would be the policy name. You can give any name here. If you see here, there is assignment tab. So in assignment, if you click, so there would be two options. You will get here two add tabs, include or exclude. Now include means you can include all users, and then you can exclude few users from the list. Okay, you can select users and groups. You can select all guest users, directory roles, users and groups. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to select here users and groups. Then select. So I'm going to select here a group which is IT. Click on select. Now in IT group there are two users. One is Bob and one is admin in my portal. So let me show you this. So, you open a duplicate tab, so you would be able to understand this. So let me go to my Active directory, then groups, and then IT. So let me open IT group and just go to members tab and let's see how many members are there. So right now we have Bob and admin, two users in this group. So now what I want, that whatever policy I'm applying here, so that will be applies to my IT group, but I want to exclude one user from the group. So that user would be admin. I don't want to apply this policy to my admin user. So that user we can exclude from here. So you need to select that user, click on done. So first step is for users and groups. Now cloud apps or actions. So from this tab, you can select your cloud apps. Okay, so cloud apps, or you are wants to include all cloud apps, or you want to include selected cloud apps. So if you go to selected apps and go to select apps, here you will get the list of apps here. So let me search here Exchange. So we have Office 365 Exchange Online. Let me select this application, click on select. So I'm going to apply my condition for this application. Okay, now user action, there is a tab user action. So select the action with policy will apply. So register security information. If you will select this option, so whatever user would be there, this policy will be applied and there would be some security information which is in preview. So MFA would be required. So right now I'm not going to use this application. Select your application, click on done. Next would be condition. So just go to conditions tab. Now, what is your condition? So there is a sign-in risk. So that means you will configure your risk type. Okay, like high, medium. So yes, I want to configure. So select the sign-in risk level policy will apply to high. So if there would be any risk, if this policy will match, so the risk would be high. Sign-in risk would be high for me, for my users. So that I'm going to specify here. So device and platforms, which devices you want to include. So apply policy to selected device. So if you will enable, then you will select devices. So this policy will be applied to Android, iOS, Windows, Windows Phone, Mac OS. If you select any device, so then you can include, then you can exclude, like if you want, like this policy should not apply on iOS devices, that you can exclude from here. Click on done. So locations. So from locations, if you remember, we have created a named location. You can specify here any locations, all trusted location or selected location. So just go to selected location, select a location from here. So we have a location like India, select, done. And client apps. So that in client app, you will get the browsers basically. So which browser you want to include in this policy. So you can select your browser, mobile application, Exchange, Active Sync. So those kind of browsers you can select here. If you want, you can enable. So I'm going to enable this also. Right now that is in preview. Device state. Click on yes. All device state. If you want, you can exclude from here. So the devices which have as hybrid Azure AD joint or which devices are marked as a compliant device, which are following the company rules, okay, which are compliant. So those, there's no requirement for those devices would be excluded from this policy. Correct? Now done. Go to next tab, which is access control. So in access control, we have grant. So if you see block access, grant access. But if I'm giving access to users, so there are some conditions. Require multi-factor authentication, require device to be marked as a compliant, require hybrid joint, AD joint devices. So these are the conditions which you need to, which users should be follow. Okay, if these users are met with these conditions, then they would be able to access my application. So like I'm going to select here, require multi-factor authentication. Select session control. So the users devices which are accessing my service in my client application. So if They use an app enforced restrictions, use conditional access app control, sign in frequency, resistant browser sessions. So if they are accessing for how many hours, your Azure will ask to re-authenticate them. So those settings you can do from here from session. Okay, so I'm not going to specify this just because we are not going to apply this policy. Now you want to enable this policy right now? Yes, click on create. So we have created this policy which is on, the state is on. Now we have one tab which is what if. Okay, now what is the meaning of what if? What if means if there is a conditional access policy and you want that to verify your users if they are going to access any kind of service, any kind of application. So what would be the requirements for that? Okay, if there would be any conditional access. So let me choose a user here. So I'm going to choose here Bob. If Bob is going to access, now what he is going to access, he's going to access an application. So which application he's going to access? So let me select application. So I'm going to select here Exchange. If you remember, we have created our Exchange conditional access. So that's why I'm going to select here Exchange. Click on done. So now select what if. Just click on it. So you can see here there is a policy and Bob requires multi-factor authentication. You can select here multiple options like IP address, country, device platform if he is going to access iOS, Android. If you remember, we have set all the parameters in our conditional access. So you can set these parameters and then you can check what if. So then you will get the access. That then you'll get the answer like he can access or he can't access. So what would be the requirement if he is going to access this policy? I hope that is clear to all of you. So that is called conditional access. Thank you guys. In next lecture, I'm going to show you Azure AD Connect, single sign-on, how to enable single sign-on, and how user will access their application with their same user ID and password, different applications. So thank you. Bye bye.